Wake up, Adam, they are getting close.
Denying Beijing, Biden, Beijing, Biden, denying Beijing, Biden, Beijing, Biden, denying Beijing, Biden, Beijing, Biden, Cuba and Russia are teaming up. They envisage a technical military cooperation. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, didn't see this coming, right? Allies Cuba and Russia, both targets of Western sanctions, intend to pursue closer technical military cooperation, the Communist Islands government mouthpiece said on Wednesday. Did any of us, or were any of us, surprised by this? Obviously not. They, of course, have talked about Cuba recently with Russia's satellite that was there about a year and a half ago. And then, of course, the recent meeting between the Cuban leader and the Russian leader Putin. And then, of course, the recent meeting with Xi and the talk about since 2019, there's actually been a Chinese spy base there, and now they're talking about a training center being there. Why is Cuba becoming so important for our adversaries? Well, it's definitely close in proximity. It's about a 30-minute flight from different parts of it, and it's again very, very close to Florida. So we'll talk about this and much, much more on tonight's show, plus everything with Putin, everything with, of course, the other Vlad, and, of course, everything with JBR Prez, and all of the crazy things that are going down right now in our world. We'll be right back right after this, and tonight is a call-in show. So remember, you can call in at 2244-00-MARF. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Beijing, Biden, Beijing, Biden. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight is a call-in show, so remember, you can find the number at the bottom of the screen once the phones open. There will be a scrolling bar with, of course, 224400-MARF. Of course, we're going to go over the basics. If you've never been here before, remember to go over to marfooglenews.com to find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to show you here today. Now, when you go over there, you'll see that it is all done by thumbnail and, of course, organized by such. So just look for today's thumbnail 68 times, and where is it? Nuclear suitcase missing. U.S. president met with Xi 68 times. Sorry, I have to read that one more time with echo. 68 times. Just to reiterate. And, of course, you'll find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document there. You'll find all of the sources. Again, that is a full bibliography of not only the stuff we're going to show you on the show, but all of the stuff we could not fit in tonight's show. So make sure to go over to the overflow and the web content. That is all the stuff that we could not fit into tonight's show. So make sure to go see that as well. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on down there. So always utilize that. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I am doing just fine.
So we will be opening up the phones here in a second, but I first wanted to go over with you, Dex, as far as Cuba and Russia. It's not a surprise, but we can see everybody is lining up. Everybody is taking a side. It is in the making for the two kind of big sides here for a world war, and people think that that's fear mongering. They think, oh, that's scary, but that's a reality in many of our minds. That this is something that you can't really argue with somebody who follows this a lot. Maybe we are being tricked by the entire thing, and they're going to get us right to the point of World War III, and then say, "Ha ha, psych." But I doubt it. What do you think, Dex?
Well, it's very reminiscent of the Cuban Missile Crisis. It makes a lot of logical sense to think that our adversary would look to Cuba as a way to potentially gain some advantage or leverage, advantage in something kinetic or just leverage in negotiations on what may come for the future. I would expect, now they didn't say exactly, they just said promising projects in the military field. But we can sort of, wrap a bow around that. If it's anything military related with Russia, it could be as far as actual missiles or something much lighter. I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to take it to the extreme to get as much power out of a move like that as possible. I just hope it doesn't turn it into something that's hot and kinetic.
No, and nobody wants it to be a hot war. But again, everybody thinks that this is the end of the world. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think it is the beginning of a new one. So I'm going to put the number on right now. So if you do want to call in, the phones are going to open right now. That again is 2244-00-MARF. Or otherwise, if you don't have a phone with letters on it, that is 6273. That's 2244-00-MARF or 2244-00-6273. Hey, thank you guys. Maybe do a quick roll call while I add this in here. Where are you from? Shout out, of course, all over the world, all the Fugle fam out there. Thank you guys for being here. And then, of course, thank you for the mods. In just a second, we're going to thank them as well. So let's see here. We got lots and lots of great people here. So thank you guys for showing up. Thank you all of the platforms that are watching right now. We have Rumble, we have DLive, and we have YouTube right now. Let's see here. Thank you already, Yobi. We have Basfa, MC Dirty Work. Thank you. Better not. Let's see here. Scooby-Doo Do Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then let's see here. Over on YouTube. Thank you. We have Carol is here. Let's see here. Serena from Dallas, Texas. Northwest Saskatchewan, Canada. Daniel Sen. We're actually going to talk about Canada today. Later on, there is a piece about what's going on there. It's absolutely crazy. Google is now going to be blocking different news sites. So we'll talk about what it is. I was at first confused by why, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. It does make logical sense. Essentially, they are not going to allow Google to use news sites from Canada without paying them. So what they responded with is, we're just going to shut it off or block them. Is this something that can affect the rest of the world? That's what I was trying to figure out. Can more countries do this? And if that does happen, how does that change search engines in general if they have to pay for news? I was wondering if there was any angle that could affect somebody like us, or if it could affect the flow of information in general. Canada's done a lot of weird stuff. Of course, many people in our audience have complained about those guys. The Trudeau, as far as the stuff that he's done ever since really the march or the trucking parade. So there's been a lot going on up there too. And I know you guys are not too happy. Let's see here. East Texas in the house. We've got, lots of people from Texas. Let's see here. Las Vegas, all rainbows here, says Todd Penning. Let's see here. Another Canada. What is happening? We have Louisiana. We have Cincinnati. We have Temecula, California. North Missouri, Port Orchard, Portland, California, Miami. We have, of course, Canada is burning down by design. One thing I thought of is just a couple of years ago, we had the fires here, and the fires were absolutely nuts, and we got that smoke. In fact, we had today, Washington, D.C., the other Washington, has the worst air in the world. Literally the worst air pollution in the world today, or at least for today. That was the position we were in Seattle and surrounding areas a few years ago. And I just think, man, is it hitting, is every part of the country at some point over a period of 5 years going to have it so bad like this, so it gets it into everybody's mind. Like, it definitely was a big deal. Well, you couldn't drive down the street because you couldn't see more than 30 feet ahead of you because of the smoke. It was something that really is, you'll never forget it, right? And does that go into some sort of narrative or some sort of agenda? I don't know. But again, the fires up there are absolutely insane. Gulf Coast, Florida, Mississippi, Willow Creek, California. We have lots of the good California cities here. Let's see here. Three Skids Mom, New Mexico, and Ohio. Hey, OH, Ohio. All right. So the phone lines are now open. That is 2244-00-MARF. Again, that's 2244-00-MARF. Over 80 million people from the Midwest to the East Coast are under air quality alerts as smoke from Canadian wildfires drifts to the U.S. If you've seen some of the videos out there, it is pretty insane, but it's something that I personally lived through because this came through the Northwest a few years ago. You could look right up when the sun was at high noon, and you could barely see it. It was almost like it was a painting of the sun. That's how bad it was. It was orange. It was just absolutely nasty. Over 80 million people from the Midwest to the East Coast are under quality alerts as smoke from the Canadian wildfires sweep across the U.S. border Tuesday, prompting beach closures, warning about reduced visibility, and calls to stay indoors. Canada is seeing the worst fire season on record, with hundreds of wildfires raging across the country, more than 200 of them burning out of control, according to the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center. The wildfires have led to the highest emissions on record for the country, according to the Tuesday report by Copernicus, a division of the European Union space program that's focused on Earth observation. As smoke crosses into the U.S., air quality alerts have been issued for the entire state of Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Delaware, Maryland, and as well as portions of Kansas, Missouri, Minnesota, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Virginia. And that wasn't the roll call. That's where the smoke is hitting right now. Now, Dex said earlier that it's actually even hitting Georgia. They can't see it as much, but they can smell it. They can feel it, which is really, really bad. So again, if you have video of this, you can always submit it at, of course, marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. When you go to our website, you'll see up in the upper right-hand corner, we actually have the play my video right at the very, very end there. If you go to the last tab, you'll see that says play my video, the one I'm highlighting in blue right now. If you click that, it will bring you to a page where you can upload your YouTube video, and then we will have permission to play it on the air. We can actually get it in today, or if you want to call in with the video, Dex will be able to instruct you to do it right now, and we can literally show it today. Thank you. I'm Batman78. Says, love the show. Keep up the good work, Marf and Dex. Hey, thank you. I just talked to one of my other buddies who's Crypto Batman. He reminds me of him. Everything Batman related reminds me of Crypto Batman. All right, and then Google to remove news links in Canada over a law on paying publishers. Essentially, Google will remove links to Canadian news from search results and other products in Canada when a law requiring internet giants to pay news publishers comes into effect, the Alphabet-owned Google.O company said on Thursday. Google joins Facebook owner Meta Platforms Inc. In announcing an end in news access for Canadian users of their platforms after Bill C-18, or the Online News Act, was passed into law last week. The law is expected to come into effect in 6 months. Heritage Minister Pablo Rodriguez, who introduced the bill last year, has said that platforms do not have any obligations under the act immediately, and that the government was open to consulting with them on the regulatory and implementation process. Canada's media industry has called for tighter regulations of tech companies to prevent them from elbowing news businesses out of the online advertising market. It says, we have now informed the government that when the law takes effect, we unfortunately will have to remove links to the Canadian news from our search, news, and discover products in Canada. Google said in a blog post, it says, we don't take this decision or its impacts lightly and believe it's important to be transparent with Canadian publishers and our users as early as possible. So really think about that. If you are a news publisher in Canada, people from around the world will not be able to find you. In fact, it's almost like because of this new thing, even relevant results, which we know that those are the days of the past anyways, those will not show up. But say a big event happens in Canada, when you look for it, you're not going to find any of the actual news agencies that are covering it that have direct access to it, because it's going to not give you those links. And that's because Google would be required to actually pay those news agencies. Now, this has something to do with, of course, the advertising and how Google controls so much of the advertising market and what they're able to do with that. But I thought that this was a very, it looks good on paper. When you look at it, you're like, well, yeah, then that means that these news publishers won't have their stuff used, or just the headlines put in some sort of box where people read the headlines, they skip it, and they don't go to the original site in the first place. They just go to the headline and they skip it because they aggregated it and put it somewhere, right? But I think there's got to be a downside to this, and I'm just wondering, can this lead to something worse down the road? Can this be something that is an example? Is this something where they're going to lead the way on this and other places are going to? Is there some sort of ulterior motive behind this? Or is this truly a good thing that would be for any kind of news service, including us? Like, why did they do this? Again, they've done other things up in Canada, talking about how, for instance, any Canadian YouTuber, they wanted to do this thing, and I feel like that was part of C18, but possibly not. It was another one. It was C11, something like this, and it was a bill, and I actually don't know as of the taping of the show if this went through, but it was basically going to be where they would not push YouTubers up unless they were Canadian enough, or any kind of thing. If you were to show up in the search results in Canada, that it would have to be that they would highly push up who they wanted to push up. But if you weren't Canadian enough, if you weren't Canadian content enough, they would not push it to the top of the results. I mean, this sounds really funky. Let's see here. Yeah, my government is pretty commie. I hope Pierre wins, says Linkshouse. I don't even know who Pierre is because I don't follow, who is running against Trudeau there. But Trudeau's got connections that go way back, including his parents. Let's see here. Lucy fanning me to North Shore suburb. Let's see here. Our radio has always been that way. Our radio has always been that way. Daniel Stern, I'm assuming he's up there. Censorship, says Salmon Pedroza. People don't feel like they have time to pay attention to the collapse happening all around them. They have been forced to ignore it through economic slavery. Let's see, if China planted 1,000 men, AR-15s, and other arms, they could take many installations in the U.S. Actually, you just made me think of something. What if there is local coverage of, say, another country moving in and doing huge exercises? Well, then our main search engine that really gets stuff out to all of the rest of them, they wouldn't even cover that, right? They would remove those links. You wouldn't be able to know it unless you really searched it out. And the thing is, what I've realized is, like, it doesn't matter. The information could still be there out on the internet, but if the big sites, the monopoly sites, do not get it out there, or if they bury it 50 pages or even 2 pages in, then you don't see those stories. And if the majority of people don't see a story, then it's like it doesn't exist. Heck, if you, they say for like SEO, search engine optimization, say you're a dentist in Chicago, search engine optimizers, these guys who do it for a living. I actually briefly worked basically selling a service like this where we would, say, hey, if you're a dentist in Chicago, we can get you to the #1 on Google. And I wouldn't do the physical or the technical part. Somebody way smarter than me would. But essentially we'd go, hey, if somebody types in dentist, dentist Chicago or Chicago dentist, it would show up on the top one. One thing I learned through that job is how basically if you are a dentist past the first page, you are not going to get calls from Google. Nobody goes past those, top 3 or 4 results. And if you are like 3 pages in, which this is the way that, we would sell it, is we would look at their, dentist Chicago, go to their thing and say, find where their page was. They would be like 50 pages in. So nobody was going to find them randomly from typing in dentist Chicago. So that's literally how we sold it. And if you look at it, nobody actually goes. Statistically, nobody, including all of us, do you ever go to the second, third, fourth, fifth page of anything to find anyone? So I just, it's crazy how much control these search engines have, including DuckDuckGo and all of the others, on who really gets the direction on this stuff. How they can direct people to the information is crazy. In fact, Redacted just showed the thing about the W and the H and the O, this treaty that's going through, and they change it constantly, but essentially right at that top spot. Not because it's relevant, not because it has backlinks and all of these crazy things to make it number one, because they put it there, was a fact check on basically the only story that went against this treaty thing. So it's like, how does that pop up at the very top? Obviously, it's catered to whatever they want to put there. So I just think that that's something that if anybody has some bright ideas and wants to go run for every office and then take over the entire cabals, then figure it out, because I think that that's a good way how they control the modern world now. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. And then extreme pride in being American remains near record low. So there used to be a huge amount of pride in the U.S. to be in the U.S., but apparently that is at its highest low. It says that at 39%, the share of U.S. adults that are extremely proud to be American is essentially unchanged from last year's 38% record low. The combined 67% of Americans who are now extremely or very proud, 28%, also aligns with the historically subdued 65% reading 1 year ago. Another 22% of U.S. adults currently say that they are moderately proud, and I don't know how they put this proudness on like a 1 through 5, but they do. Well, 7% only a little, and 4% not at all. And you probably know exactly who those are in your neighborhood. When Gallup first asked this question in January 2001, 55% of U.S. adults were extremely proud to be American. However, pride soon intensified after 9/11, with extreme pride ranging from 65% to 70% between 2002 and 2004. And that is quite crazy to think about if you're too young to remember. Essentially, after 9/11, it was insane. It was actually really, really cool. Everywhere you went, you guys know exactly what I'm going to say. There was American flags. People had American flags off the back of their cars. Those car window American flags, people would have 4, one in each window, waving down the street. It was like everybody was proud to be American. It was like people were honking at each other. Everybody would honk at each other when they had an American flag on their car. And it wasn't like 1 or 2 every day. It was like everybody had it. Everybody really unified after that. But that didn't last long. Of course, they didn't let that stay. There ended up being media that heavily pushed, and I remember this. This is like now 20 years ago, but I remember they heavily pushed that certain peoples were getting attacked because they thought that those people were involved in this and that. And it all came out that, of course, the people that they said did it weren't even the people that they said did it. It was actually another country, Saudi Arabia, all of that. It was just absolutely nuts. But I remember it was like we had that unified pride, and then they slowly whittled that away and basically took that apart. Now there's so little pride in America that they are getting some of the lowest numbers ever. And I believe this is true. If you look at young people and how they look at America, even though they're big fans of the current president, they are not a fan of the U.S. In fact, they think we are, just POSs. Every time they do the man on the street things, everybody says, no, all these young people say they're not proud to be an American. I will say this, I am proud to be an American, but I am also proud to be American because in our history, there's always been, the good guys that basically stood up for what was right. It's becoming less and less, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. As far as I'm proud to live in a place that at least, we are extremely treated well compared to other places in the world. There's lots of things to be proud about. And most of it is really the people that are around me, the people in my audience, the people here. But as far as the decisions that the top makes, we obviously don't, not a lot of people agree on that because we believe that that is a broken system right now. But that doesn't mean it can't be fixed. That's my opinion. What's yours? I'd love to hear it. Comment down below. Are you proud to be American? In fact, let's do a quick chat check. So, are you proud to be American if you are American? And if you're not, that's totally cool. Tell us where you're proud to be. It's no surprise, though. I mean, we've been seeing this for quite a long time. Greg Heiss, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. I'm Batman. Thank you for the super chat. And Andrew Moon, thank you for being the first one out of the gate. Thank you so much, Andrew Moon, for $3 super chat. I appreciate that. And thank you for supporting Independent. Let's see here. So, proud to be an American, says Terry King. Raymond Winans. Yes, Stanton's shenanigans. Yes. Let's see here. MSB 9021. I'm proud to be Polish and American. Oriana, good. That's awesome. And absolutely, says Deb Bryan. So, by the way, and I saw another study last year that said that if you said you were proud of America, they correlated that with being the R word, essentially that you didn't, that you didn't appreciate all colors, right? I think that was one of the stupidest things ever, and I think it's part of the ganda that they push out to divide us. I think it doesn't matter what color you are. If you're here now, we should all be brothers and sisters. Let's see here. Who wouldn't be? People come from all over the world to have a chance here. Yep. Proud to be a part of God. Proud to be an American. God bless America. Why is there not a U.S. flag emoji? Is there not? There's got to be. I'm sure there is. Yes, I am. Well, I mean, look at this chat. I mean, look at that. I'll put that up. That is, that's a lot of yeses. So is that, so who are these people that aren't proud? Who did they survey? I would love to see the numbers on who they surveyed that say they're not extremely proud to be here. I bet you that that's on purpose. Who do they pick for it? How do they pick? Because these surveys, sometimes they can be very, they can direct the results, depending on what they want the narrative to be. All right, before we move on, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. There's no better time than yesterday to get survival food. Again, the price on freeze-dried food has gone up it's actually tripled in the last 3 years. And of course, if you don't want to pay the prices that are probably coming in the next 5, 10, 15, or even 25 years, then I would highly recommend getting it now. There's $200 off on a 3-month supply of food when you go through marfooglenews.com/prep. So not only are you getting a huge, huge discount, but you are also safe for at least 25 years. These last 25 years, so over 2 decades, and you essentially just add water and cook. So this is good not for an SHTF. It's of course great for everything, but it's also good for regional disasters, any kind of earthquake, hurricane. If you have a lot of different, regional disasters that you are prone to in your area, then I would definitely recommend having this. Many people do not have more than 3 days of food in their fridge. That is a really horrible idea, especially with all of the crazy things we're going into right now. So go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. When you do this, you're going to get a huge discount and you're going to help our channel. We're on our own. So when you guys help this, you are helping us and reinforcing the growth of our channel, and you're helping us and our families. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And again, that's marfooglenews.com/prep. All right. And then we are going to go over to the phones here in 2 seconds. We have Brian 302, a first-time caller, and he is going to be talking about military movement in Connecticut. We have Brian, a first-time caller out of Connecticut. Brian 302, are you there?
Yes, I am. Adam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So what's going on, Brian?
So I love the show, Adam, Dex, you guys are awesome. I've been listening to you guys since before that thing that happened, and everyone thought I was nuts when I was pointing your link over to them, and that after that thing happened, they all got prepped. And as I was telling Dex earlier, I did the same thing today. Anyway, I've noticed something weird. If you know this company called ASML, it's a company in Connecticut, in Wilton, that produces these chips. And during that shortage that we had about a year ago, they basically tried to kick in and cover that island that the red country wants pretty bad. So they tried to kick in and say, hey, we're going to try to manufacture all these chips. So I've been traveling up and down the East Coast for a little while throughout the last few months, and I went as far down as Tennessee driving and up to Vermont driving. And on my way to Tennessee, I didn't see one but three. They look like cargo containers, like a drop on the back of a truck cargo container with ASML on them. One of them I saw while I was traveling through Virginia had a black back on it, like it had been spray painted black. And then finally, when I was able to get around it, on the side of it, it had these. I've seen them before, and I'm sure you have seen them somewhere. They're like orange and white big stickers, US GOV, and barcodes and stuff plastered over these people's faces, these stock images that they use, and it said ASML, like building a better future. And it was what was like a should I say, a tank or a heavy purpose wheeled vehicle hauler going down the hallway, going down the highway. And then I saw it again with a lighter duty truck with another one hauling a similar one, which was like camo. And then another one later on, which I saw at a rest stop as I drove by. And it's kind of hard to miss, 14-inch tall letters and a 30 to 40-inch wide logo ASML. And I was telling Dex earlier that this place has those super tight security, and the fact that I turned around in their lot one time and I had to sit at a light and wait, and by the time that light was ready to turn green, I had a security guard which apparently had super high clearance, almost local enforcement level, say, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I just turned around. There's no gate, there's nothing there, no guard shack. All I did was I turned my car around a little island, and I went to turn around and go the other direction. I had to wait at a light, and I had this guard on me. He was like, you're trespassing. This is a high level property." I'm like, "Sir, I'm so sorry. I just had to turn around." And something I think is going on, that if the U.S. is gathering these things up, I mean, I don't know what they are. They could be storage containers. They could be mobile preparation containers for chips. But I feel like there's going to be a mushroom cloud event or something electronic that might warrant the making of possible chips, or trying to salvage what could be made.
Well, so we also had a caller the other night, and he couldn't exactly clarify exactly what he did, but essentially said that they are doing something in a hurry as far as chips go. And just my guess, not even an educated guess, is that they know that something is going to happen with Taiwan and electronics and anything regarding this. If they hoard this stuff, or if they really collect it, that they're probably doing it for some reason. Like they're doing it for something that is to come. I don't know if I'm looking at any of the right stuff, but I do see some funky containers on, as far from the company. And then that actually might even be a unit that actually does something. I don't know what's the deal, but of course, it looks like that company was also involved heavily in kind of the whole thing since 2019. So
Yeah.
Again, I don't know, but I just wonder if there is more information out there as far as, are they hoarding? Are they gathering chips? Are they gathering electronics? It would make sense. China is. Why wouldn't we? China's hoarding pretty much everything and anything. So from food to electronics to gold
Yes.
to wheat to corn to even natural gas. They stopped selling it to some of their biggest customers. So I wonder what's happening with that. Well, a very, very good
Yes.
observation.
And Adam, if I may say one thing.
Go ahead.
So, you know what I was thinking what those big boxes could be and why they require large trucks is, what if by design, because of what they make, if maybe they are Faraday cages or something of that magnitude, because if an EMP or a mushroom cloud event happened, even if you had the materials, it'd be really hard to make those chips. So maybe those things could be, that are on the flatbeds, or some sort of Faraday cage, and inside it's like it's this little vault that maybe holds, X amount of chips, but inside it's super insulated and tight, so that if anything does happen, we can pull out and go, yep, we can replace X, Y, and Z and get things going, but it won't be for the masses. It'll just be for a certain percentage or to keep the military going.
Now, what did you say? The containers, did they look like normal containers or did they look like something else? Just curious.
So if you picture like the regular like a shipping container, like the big red ones that you see on an 18-wheeler, they look like that, but they had flat sides, but the back had a corrugated door, and they didn't have any external locks that you could see, but you could see these hinges which look like you could stick a like a baseball bat handle through. If you just whacked off like the first 8 inches of a bat, and you could fit that in the hinge. Didn't look like there was any locking mechanism. Didn't look like there was really anything. Also, I did notice that they had a tongue ring, or like some sort of grappling ring that you would see at the top. Look like the rear and maybe the front point. So they look like maybe something that could have been picked up either by a crane or a helicopter.
I just wonder if this was something else. The things I don't know if this is even the same company, but there's this weird thing that has microwaves involved, and it's a big machine inside of it. And it looks like they've made it to where it can go on some sort of container truck. But maybe they do multiple things. This is even weirder if this is.
Well, it's all.
Go ahead.
Well, it's also possible that they have, with what they produce these chips for, they could have all different containers for everything from iPhones to for everything for cars. I can imagine a company that took on the strain of that thing that happened, and our friend with the fence in his name, and all the way up to the last couple of years where they decided, all right, we need to take over manufacturing. They could have, in my opinion, they could disguise whatever, because I'm pretty sure if someone is able to do a freedom of information and go, oh, you could find the DoD clearances and stuff. So they could have containers for just about everything, whether it's microwaves, iPhones, running the drone systems, anything. What I was trying to figure out is, when I went to Vermont, I only saw one. And the only reason why I thought there would only be one going up that way could it be going to a particular installation in the Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine area for defense or protection?
Well, it looks like they also do these big contracts, and it looks like they can turn these boxes. There's several different boxes, and I thought they were all the same. There's actually a bunch of different ones that they can automate things. So they, like an automation. So, like if you go to look at the Tesla factory, for instance, how the robots and there's conveyor belts and they're building things, and all these robot arms are building things. It looks like some of these can actually do processes inside of them. And like there's different ones. There's microwave, there's other ones. So those could have been anything. They make them like this so they can ship them all over the place. They even have computers that pop out of the, I mean, look at that. They have, one of the panels comes down and it's an actual computer that runs the thing. I just wonder if what you saw was some sort of thing that they made for the US Gov that is, something absolutely nuts. Maybe it's not even a container of things. Maybe it was a container of a thing that can make things. I don't know. But either way, if someone knows, they can give us a call. Brian from Connecticut, thank you so much for calling tonight. Again, appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Dex. You guys rock and keep it up. I'm always listening. Every time you guys are live or post a short, I'm on.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Brian, it's your first time called. Don't make it your last, okay? Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. That was Brian from Connecticut. If you, there's also the option that it could have been something totally, non-nefarious, but I wonder what else they could do with this tech if the government said, hey, can you make one of these? Would they be able to do it? Looks like these are extremely complex. Even if you look at just some of the pictures, this one that's pictured is like microwave something, and it shows the microwave beams being, bounced off of like 50 different things, and I don't know what the heck that thing does. I mean, if you looked at that, would you be able to go, oh yeah, that's somebody said lithography, something like that. I don't know what the heck these things are, but again, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sort of scientific genius. I'm sure there's going to be, I do lithography machines for breakfast. That's definitely this and that. I've been doing them since 19-8. I don't know. You tell me. And then JB says he's met with China Xi 68 times and turned in all my notes during tenure as VP. So we tried to look, and there's somewhat of what the president and the vice president do is transparent. Is there any president or vice president that has ever met with Xi this many times? 68 times. I mean, when Xi meets somebody, it's like once a year type of thing. How, even in that period, and I don't know if, now, Dex, I don't know if you can pop in here because I actually asked you to do some side research and see if you could find anybody else that has visited that many times. But I also wonder, he said as VP, so that would be in an 8-year period, right? In 8 years, 68 times. If that is correct. I could possibly see that in because he's been in politics for 50 years. Maybe, but that's still like 10 times a year or 8.
Hey, Adam.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I could not find, it's not easy to figure out who went where and how many times, but that number is just astronomical. I mean, who's gone 68 times?
68. I mean, are people grasping how many times that's visiting? Okay, I mean, like, there's 12 months in a year. 12. What is 12 times 8? So
it's 96. He would have to go every month and a half.
I mean, is he visiting it as a personal friend? Is he Biden, denying Beijing, Biden, Beijing, Biden, oh, denying Beijing, Biden, Beijing, Biden, oh, denying Beijing, Biden, Beijing, Biden. Sorry, just started rocking out there. Seriously, 68 times, and you wonder why they get their nicknames. The remarks from Biden about his encounters with top Chinese politicians came during a speech he delivered from Chicago on Wednesday about Bidenomics, a term pushed by the White House that pertains to the president's economic agenda. It says, I've long said, and I mean this, I was on the Tibetan Plateau with Xi Jinping. Biden, I've traveled 17,000 miles with him. I've spoke with him more than any other head of state because it started when I was vice president and President Hu was the president and he was the vice president. We knew he was going to be the successor. It was inappropriate for Barack to spend that time, but I spent a lot of time with them. It was inappropriate for Barack, but they were like, oh, no, Joe, you're good, though. You can go. I met alone with him, just he and I, and a simultaneous interpreter 68 times, 68 hours, 68 times, more than 68 hours. He literally said 68 times, 68 hours, 68 times, more than 68 hours. Why? Why was he saying all this? Now, when I first heard this, I said, is this a gaffe? But they were saying that this is part of the transparency that he was trying to tell people about. What do you guys think about his 8-year period where he visited 68 times? That's an on average visit all the way to China or China all the way to him, which it looks like Xi only came twice. So, and you guys can go look for yourselves if you can get me more info on that. It looks like twice during that time period, at least to official standpoint. 66 of those times would have been going to China, right? And President Hu was the president and Xi was going to be the successor. That's every month and a half he was going to high five with China. I'm so confused by this. I mean, it paints this picture that our world is just absolutely absurd. This is our adversary. It has been our adversary. And, of course, what is involved is a lot of money because China turned into America's manufacturer. All these corporations are probably buying paintings left and right. Probably wanted to connect, multiple things maybe. I don't know. It's quite wild. Just kind of peeking into the chat. That's too many times, says Dope Heathen. Let's see here. China probably has it, LOL. Let's see. Thank you, Laura Griffith, and thank you for the heads up. Oh, so thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Laura Griffith. Laura Griffith, actually, you sent me a DM, and I got back to you about the USPS possibly being hacked. I could not find anything on it. I don't believe Dex, I don't think you found anything on it either. But that's even scarier is when you can't find something that is probably happening, right? USPS apparently, according to Laura Griffith, couldn't forward things, that a lot of their systems were down or having problems. That's infrastructure. That's the logistics of how we get everything around. In an upside down world, the hobo is king. Selling out America is a good guess, Mick, a lot. Rocket 69. Let's see here. Walmart blame 2. Biden must have meant 6 to 8 times. Dolores, the thing is people then asked and he confirmed, no, 68. And then goes on to say, because they omitted parts of this, 68 times, more than 68 hours, not 6 to 8. That's a 6 to 8. Okay, that would make way more sense, right? 6 to 8 times. But no, 68 times. I would love for them to, they're probably, if they haven't walked it back yet. They've walked back many times. U.S. remarks are extremely absurd and irresponsible as blatant political provocation, and that was her response. China has criticized Biden for his remarks about Xi being a dictator, saying his comment was extremely absurd and irresponsible. But hey, he's known him more than anybody. Heck, they play Call of Duty together. Just a guess. With, what's his name? The guy from House of Cards. And then China tells U.S. to lift sanctions to reopen high-level military talks. So essentially, China's saying if you guys drop the sanctions on us, yeah, we'll open our military communications. Right now, as it sits, the militaries are not speaking to each other. And that's not a good thing, obviously. But it says an official with the Chinese embassy called on the U.S. on Wednesday to lift sanctions against Beijing in order to reopen high-level military talks between the two superpowers. I don't get why. They've got Millie on speed dial, but it says the U.S. side knows the reason for difficulties in its military-to-military relations with China. Spokesman Lu Pengyu said at a briefing, according to Bloomberg, it actually imposed unilateral sanctions on China. Such obstacles should be removed before any exchange and cooperation could take place between the two countries, Lu added. Earlier this month, Chinese President Xi Jinping rejected Secretary of State Antony Blinken's offer to set up a crisis communications line between the two countries during the visit to Beijing. In May, China refused a meeting between the nation's defense chiefs. While it wasn't immediately clear which sanctions Lu was referring to at Wednesday's briefing, Chinese officials have previously pointed to sanctions against Chinese Minister of National Defense Li Shangfu for the refusal to engage in Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Li has been the target of U.S. sanctions since 2018 over his purchase of warplanes and equipment from a Russian defense firm. The U.S. has repeatedly pushed for open lines of military-to-military communication and increasingly tense relations with China over issues like trade, Taiwan's independence, and Chinese spy balloon that wandered into American airspace earlier this year. So basically, they have said, "Oh yeah, we'll open up, high-level military talks, but you got to drop all of these sanctions." They don't even tell them which ones. What do you guys think is going to happen? Do you think we're going to drop the sanctions? Who knows? I guess it depends. And then South Korea shoppers buy up salt before Japan's Fukushima water dump. Essentially, folks are afraid that once the water is dumped, that these sea-related products are going to be either tainted or radioactive. So supposedly, South Korean shoppers are snatching up salt and any kind of seaweed, any kind of product that they would usually get out of the sea, and they're trying to stockpile it because they believe that the Fukushima water will affect what comes out of it, including salt and, of course, seaweed and all sorts of other things that Asian foods have in them. As you can see in the picture, it actually shows that they have stockpiled a bunch of stuff. I could not tell you what any of those things are, but I know that some of it is salt and probably some of it is seaweed wraps. So as far as this goes, some are saying that they're being paranoid. Personally, if I ate and if this was in my diet, I would do the same thing. I wouldn't trust that this radioactive water is going to be good. And if these companies are going to actually, get rid of any of that stuff. I mean, look at the Marshall Islands and the land, island of Ibu. Some of the biggest countries in the world have basically let people be in harm's way and not cared when there's harmful things in the water or harmful things in the food. In fact, it's, in my opinion, it's probably why our men's sperm counts have gone down 50% in the last few decades. And who knows, maybe it's not an accident. Those, you know what I mean. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. MSG is in the food. Yes. Ilea says, I've been having problems tracking a package, Weed Whacker, since Monday via USPS. Shout out to WIS Jen for always being sweet and positive. I will shout out to WIS Jen as well. And you've been here every night. Thank you so much. And that means a lot for Ilea to say that. So thank you so much. And then Carol, thank you again. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you for supporting Independent. So has anybody else having problems with USPS? I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out of the few thousand that are watching. Have others had problems with USPS? Because there's nothing in the news about it. Absolutely nothing. Not even independent. Bobby Sue says sperm count declined due to phone radiation, but I think it happened even before cell phones. So I don't know if you could attribute it all to that. Some think it's certain things that are in our diet or food with preservatives, or I don't know though. Again, that's not something I can comment on either because I don't know. Buy your own distiller. I actually agree with that. Let's say it's microplastic, says Lindsay Mitchell. I never get any mail anymore. USPS is horrible. Honestly, I think USPS, I've had more positive experiences with them rather than FedEx. FedEx has been pretty bad. FedEx is like Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura, that opening scene where he's kicking the box down the hallway. That's how I feel about FedEx. Big Pharma. Ask Big Pharma about that issue. Who knows? Yeah, what did most people take 30, 40 years ago required? Before we move on, definitely want to recommend, if you haven't seen the Energy solar generators, then make sure to go check out their website. I would highly recommend the Flex 1500. It is the most modular and the most expandable system out of all of their systems that they have. And it is the most flexible as far as it can be just a beginner kit with a battery. If you just want a one battery and get a couple solar panels and have yourself a really good small solar generator, then you can. It's portable. They all connect, so you can actually expand it up to 96 batteries. Up to 5 batteries, you can actually carry it with the handle and take it with you. What is also great, though, is you can mod it. You can actually mod it with different boxes like Legos that you insert and lock in, and then it turns it into a different kind of system. So in theory, you could actually start out with one system, and then as you go along, you can invest in other parts to it. You can get the UPS Flex rapid charger that can actually charge the battery from the wall super, super fast. I think it's like per battery, it's like a little bit of 15 minutes over an hour. It can charge a 1,000-watt battery. So that's super fast. And it also turns it into a UPS system, or uninterrupted power supply, meaning that if you plug your fridge into this and then this into the wall, it's not going to harm the battery. It's going to keep the power going through it. And then when the power goes out, it will actually kick right over to the generator portion of it. So this is a really awesome system. This is good for everybody because it is so, malleable and modular. This is, again, can be expanded up to 96 batteries. So you can basically make this into a whole home system if you want now. I would go over to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle, because not only do we get credit for that, you will also get a giant discount from that. And again, you'll be backing yourself up for any kind of power outage. Also, to check out the Flex Tactical. So why Energy is really a good choice is, again, this is going to be the same generators they're going to be using with the military. The Flex Tactical and Energy in general have actually just won all of these awards. In fact, this didn't come out. There was a lot of these things that they were in the works, so they couldn't really say anything about it. But now they've been notified of being selected as the 2023 U.S. Army X-Tech SBR Phase 2 contract. So there's even more details to be announced, but these things are military tough. And when they say that, they really mean it. So go over to marfooglenews.com/energy if you want something that will actually run when you need it. If you get some of the cheaper ones, you have no idea if SHTF actually happens, that it's going to run. They're silent. They don't take gas. You can get unlimited power from the sun. And again, you don't have to deal with harmful gases. marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. All right, let's get our next caller on the phone. You are live on Marfoogle News. Looks like we have...
Hey, Mark.
Samson, what is happening from the Carolinas? How are you doing?
Yeah, man. Brother, I'm blessed. How are you, my friend?
I am doing good. So, Samson, you want to talk about, you wanted to share some stuff with us.
Man, I'd like to share some stuff that's been on my heart, and the Fugle fam has been on my heart for, gosh, I was in Mexico when I started calling you guys. It was about 2017 when I published my first book in Mexico, Reflections Therapeutic Poetry. I kind of got screwed over on it. It's a funny thing. It's my first book. Didn't know what I was doing. Ended up getting it published, and now it's all about, you know what, I'm not getting money off of it. I don't care about that at this point, but my words are out there, and I've heard from the people all over the place. And I think now's the time when people need to hear something maybe that God put on my heart to share.
All right, we're all listening.
Right on. I'll share a couple of different poems. They're a little bit all over the place. I appreciate my time you're giving me. I love you guys. Thank you, mods. Thank you, Fugle fam. Dex, you're the stuff. Love you guys to death. This is called Greenpeace. I wish I was a tall green tree for all the countryside to see, slowly swaying in the wind, watching my leaves as they fall and descend, giving baby hawks their home, watching baby sparrows roam, giving off my oxygen for all the earth to breathe. World, don't grow up too fast. Please just think of me. Will kindness make a difference after this life's gone? Does my soul keep a record of my loved ones who've passed on? Man has told me many things. Some of them I trust. Some things just make no sense at all, and live with them I must. So I'll look to you and this life's gone. I hope this will get me by, that one day I might serve you correctly and be right by your side. I'm a little religious, you know. I have a tendency to be very grateful for what I believe is the source for me is Christ personally. Whatever it might be for you, just find what it is and empower us. You know, we need each other more than we can imagine right now. You know, I'm just a single lonely person living on Lake Wiley in a boat. Nobody knows, but if I can share something that means something to somebody, then it's worth something. You know, will kindness make a difference after this? Did that one already. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. You like this one? Like Superman, I'm strong. Like Spider-Man, I can spin webs. Like Aquaman, I can communicate. Like the twins, I can activate. Like the Hulk, I can be strong. Like Thor, I can be fantastic. Like the Flash, I can be fast. Like the Green Lantern, I can shine. Like Batman, be two but one. But sometimes I just wish I could be the Invisible Man. One night I had a dream. I was a star shining bright, and my light was singing melodies moving softly through the night. Sitting high above in space, watching comets soar and race, I'd love to shine upon the earth, if just to see one happy face. And then I woke up, and I had a smile on my face, because one of these days I know I'll be that shining star in space. Y'all don't give up. It's too beautiful. So y'all lean on each other and be there for each other and be Fugle strong. Be Fugle strong. I don't know how I could end it any better way. Adam, I respect and love you dearly. Dex, I'm so grateful for your work. The mods, you guys this wouldn't happen without y'all. And each one of you guys, whether it's your first time listening or whatever, this is what it takes right now, right here. And I love you. And it's, what was Dex, that channel I had before was by MF Polar and stuff. You know, by capital MF polar and stuff, because if you love somebody with bipolar disorder, it's a MF. It's life. Let's deal with it. Let's take it head on. I don't even know if I'm still on here. Adam, thank you. I'm looking at the moon right here. I hope you guys are looking at it and inspired. I love you. God bless you. Gone Girl, I miss you.
Well, thank you so much for calling
God,
in.
you guys.
And again, thank
Dude,
you.
I love you guys.
We love you too, man. And thank you. I love the Invisible Man. I think everybody feels like that every once in a while. So thank you so much. And
Yeah, man.
again, thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
God bless you, man. You've got the whole Fugle fam behind you. You still there? Think we lost him. That was Samson. And we have put his book link on our website, so you can go check out his stuff if you like this poetry. I also popped into chat real quick. I did want to just remind people that if you do get in, you get the 5 minutes just like everybody else. So again, be respectful of other people's 5 minutes, and if they, if you don't disagree with, if you disagree with them, that's fine. Just don't be rude about it. And I didn't see any of that. I was really blown away. Sometimes we get all sorts of comments. Doesn't matter when or what caller it is. We'll get nasty negative comments. So I'm really, really glad that our chat is like getting into a place. For a while there, we had so many new people that a lot of folks, they come in, they don't know about the community at all. And they'll, say nasty things like next or this or that. It was such a period of all sorts of new people coming in. And it seems like we've gotten into a zone. So thank you guys. Sounds like Samson definitely was very passionate about his stuff. So thank you. And again, you can find his book over on our website. I liked that, how he fit in all of the heroes and then said, sometimes I want to be an invisible man. All right. And then let's see here. Danish girl. Hey, thank you. Thank you all of you guys. So the thing is remind you that this is a community. Like Kim Canadian says, Samson, we love you so much. And if we can turn it into more of one where everybody is pushing each other up instead of pushing people down, that's our goal. And we've lost a lot of people because of it. Like, we're just not going to, because every time somebody says something like that, it might get muted, then they get mad, they get defensive, then they don't come back. I'd rather keep the people around that are positive than keep the people that are negative. Switzerland refuses to transfer tanks to Ukraine due to neutrality policy. I actually was talking with somebody earlier, and they said, Switzerland, I thought they wanted to join NATO. I actually, I used to get Switzerland and Sweden confused. But again, Switzerland has been neutral, and I believe they've been neutral for like 250 years or something. I could be wrong about that. But Switzerland they're not trying to join NATO, as many people said on the comments of one of the posts about this. Switzerland is just not trying to help. It says that Switzerland again refused to transfer arms to UKR on Wednesday, this time rejecting the export of almost 100 Leopard 1 tanks belonging to the state arms company RUAG. Despite pressure from Kiev and its allies, Switzerland has so far not allowed countries that hold Swiss-made weaponry to re-export it to UKR. It says that Switzerland Federal Council said that the export of 96 Leopard 1A5 tanks was not possible under the law as it stands. Such a sale would contravene the War Material Act and would result in a shift from Switzerland's policy of neutrality. It says that the War Material Act bars all re-export if the recipient country is an international armed conflict. The Federal Council said that it had been given priority to Switzerland's commitments as a neutral country and to a reliability of its application of the rule of law. So essentially, they didn't do this before. They didn't do it to anybody else. They're not going to do it now. The landlocked country of 8.8 million people has a longstanding position of well-armed military neutrality. But this tradition has been hotly debated since Russia's invasion of UKR last year. It says the country's lower house of parliament have voted against a proposal that would have specifically authorized the transfer of Swiss-made arms to Ukraine. It was rejected explicit requests from countries including Germany, Spain, and Denmark. RUAG bought the used and non-operational Leopard 1A5 tanks from the agency of the Italian Ministry of Defense in 2016. The company initially intended to refurbish the tanks, which are still in Italy, for potential buyers or sell spare parts. So they'll sell them. They can sell them to other places, but if they are in a current war, they're not going to. So that's where Switzerland stands, and many people are cheering them on for it. And then where are Russian generals Gerasimov and Surovikin after the Wagner rebellion? Now, one of the big points here that is being made is that one of these gentlemen is usually the holder of the nuclear suitcase. Now, I'm gonna pop over here 1 second. And by the way, thank you, Blue Boy 1968. Hi, Adam and Dex mods. Those ASML machines you were talking about are big X-ray machines that scan containers at ports. I've seen these here in Australia. Okay, so that's even freakier. Do you guys get what he just said? If the ones that this gentleman saw are what he is talking about, he said, "Hey, hi, Adam and Dex mods. Those ASML machines you were talking about are big X-ray machines that scan containers at ports. I've seen these in Australia." Do you understand why that could be a big deal? One thing that I have noticed, and this is a pattern we will show you across our shows, is the DHS requirements and the different things that they've been asking for. Mobile device plug-in accessories that could detect radiation. A modular system that could detect all sorts of radioactive and chemical, different attaches that can go in a place like, say, Indy 500, where they would bring these things and they would be able to detect these things. And also, the same things, like it painted a picture, rapidly deployable checkpoints. There was at least 4 different ones to detect radiation. I just wonder if they are concerned about a container coming in with something like a weapon. That would just be the 2 + 2 I would put from that, if that's what the gentleman actually saw. So just to remind you, if you just joined us, a previous caller actually showed us or said that he saw these containers with ASML on them and that they were big, flat. Essentially, a lot of people are looking at these kind of things as what it may be. And there's different colors, and there was one with black on the back. He said at the very beginning, spray painted black. But they make automated systems that fit into these boxes and that can travel anywhere. For instance, this is probably some sort of automated system that can literally make it all inside, right? Well, it looks like the X-ray or the microwave technology that they're using for this is one of those container-looking things. So that is actually really interesting. Thank you, Blue Boy 1968. I have never seen one, and I don't know if that's what he saw, but man, that would be creepy if that's what they're shipping those all over the place. Why? Christopher Warwick 6820 says you may be biased, but you also point out both sides of the story, where the mainstream media does not. They only tell the people on one side of the story and aim towards what side they want it to like the Democrat side. They never point out what the Democrats do wrong. It always is the Republicans that do wrong and never do right. It's sickening what the mainstream media does, and they should ban it and take it off the air, or they should be fined. I love what you and Dex do. I've been with you for a very long time, since 2018, I would say, at the time where you were all by yourself, if I remember correctly. Yes, I was. I had a fun time, actually. On my breaks, I would go out to my car and do my videos. Thanks. I don't miss a day. Love the shorts too, says Nettie. RB, thank you for the super thanks on Internet Apocalypse, Prigozhin, Putin, and Biden speak. Something is fishy. Well, thank you, Nettie. And thank you, of course, Christopher Wirtz and Andrew Moon, 2173, says thanks. Well, thank you guys. And I appreciate that. Of course, those are super thanks, kind of like a super chat, but it's on the replay. Thank you so much. All right. And then Belarus, second-rate dictators. Oh, okay. No, sorry. We actually have something to go over here. Gerasimov 67 is the commander of Russia's war in Ukraine and the holder of one of Russia's 3 nuclear briefcases, according to some Western military analysts. Absent from view, too, is General Sergei Surovikin, nicknamed General Armageddon by the Russian press for his aggressive tactics in the Syrian conflict, who is deputy commander of the Russian forces in UKR. It says a New York Times report based on U.S. intelligence briefing said that Tuesday, Surovikin had advanced knowledge of the mutiny and the Russian authorities were checking whether he was complicit. So what they are trying to say here is that he may be arrested just like General Armageddon and that he has been taken away. Meanwhile, there's the mystery of where is the guy that actually holds the nuclear suitcase? If there is anything shady going on here, or if some of the theories were correct, like they sent all these nukes to Belarus over to Lukashenko, which there's some more stuff on Lukashenko that's really sketch, that, where is this suitcase? Has it moved to somewhere else? Is he, instead of being arrested for this rebellion, which a lot of people don't even think was a real rebellion, then where is he? That is the big question. And where is the suitcase? Did he pass it off to his buddy? Well, he goes and pretends he's being, interrogated for the rebellion. I keep saying rebellion. Yeah. The, rebellion. But it doesn't take a genius to know it wasn't. You guys get what I'm saying. The Kremlin on Wednesday played down the report, saying that there would be a lot of speculation and gossip. On Thursday, it declined to answer questions about Surovikin, referring journalists to the defense ministry, which has not yet made a statement about him. I bet he's just going to pop up like normal, but that's just my opinion. I think that this is something weird is going on here, but at the same time, it is very concerning. Now, Dex, I'm going to pop over to you for a second, and I'm actually going to load what we need for the next caller here, and it looks like, yeah, so we already have our caller lined up. So I was actually going to load something for after the next section. As far as the guy that holds the suitcase, where do you think he is?
Well, he's either in custody or hiding out, in my opinion. I don't know that for a fact, but just given the state of things that went down over the last weekend with the last General Armageddon, Sir Kovikin, I believe is his name, him being arrested, as we reported last night. And what was interesting is right before he was arrested, everybody was saying, "Where is he?" That was the other one they were looking for. And then all of a sudden they came out and said he had been detained, was the term they used. So this gentleman is more than likely either on the run or I guess detained, as they call it. But if he's not detained and he was part of this with Prigozhin, if he was part of this with them, then that's a little telling and a little, concerning when it comes up that he was one of the holders of the 3 different nuclear briefcases. So at least that's what some Western analysts are saying. So if that's true, and nobody knows where he is, and they haven't told us that he's been detained, then that's kind of, that's pretty alarming.
It is alarming. I would love to hear your opinions on this. Do you think it's just part of the Ganda? Most of it is, so we don't know what is what on there. Bible Talk 777, on behalf of Samson, he touched everyone's heart. You could tell he was extremely passionate. That's the thing that changes poetry, right? When they're, especially if you've ever been to an open mic with poetry, Somebody can read poetry and it might not have the same effect. But if somebody reads it with emotion and you can tell the way that they wrote it, then it literally goes a really long way. It really takes something magical for somebody to write poetry to make you feel like that without hearing them read it. So again, that's something, because we've all wrote and been in that mind state. So it was definitely something where when his voice started breaking, I almost teared up there. Lego Dad, by the way, sweet name there, says, what was that? Said, I've always wondered if you install the EMP shield in your home, how does that help if the transmission lines go down, unless you need to buy the energy as well? I just wanted to point out, so a lot of people over the years have asked that. The whole point of the EMP shield is that it actually does, if you wire it into your home, and you can just do the car version so you can get to where you're going. But if you wire it into your home, then when the power does come back on, all of your stuff is good. If an EMP hits and it's not there, then everything will be fried. So even in 6 months or even in 2 days or 2 weeks, power comes back on, all of your stuff is going to be fried. Or say it's protected in your house, it's plugged in and it's protected, then you can unplug that and use that. All of the stuff in your house that you've spent all this money to buy and all these appliances and things, you can then go plug them into a generator or acquire a generator. A lot of preppers have generators, but they don't just have everything sitting in a Faraday cage. This way, everything in your house is protected. So that's why you would have it. Yeah, you're right. If the grid doesn't come back on, that you're not going to have power. But that's where a generator comes in place. Otherwise, when it does come back on, and it probably will at some point, unless it's the end of the world, which don't think is going to happen, all of your stuff will be able to be plugged in. Otherwise, say 6 months go on, the power gets turned back on, and you basically have a bunch of useless electronics that are completely fried. Then you have to go out and somehow acquire all of this in the beginning of a new world. It's going to be a little bit harder. But yeah, there's a lot of questions. I mean, look, SHTF, there's so many thousands of questions. Even the richest people in the world, I always think back to that interview they did of that one of the gentlemen who everybody asks how to survive and what they should do. The one gentleman got called and he thought he was going to be speaking for thousands of people because of the amount he was paid. He thought he was doing this big public speech. And he got pulled into a room and they're like, oh, we're about to bring you into the room with the people that paid you. And he was like, oh, okay, what do you mean? And it was like 5 very, very extremely rich people. He goes in and talks to the 5 very, very rich people, and they paid him all of this money so they could just basically have one-on-one and talk with him, with these guys all ask questions. And one of the questions that really stuck out, say you have all the money in the world. Say you have, some sort of compound that you have a full on everything. You have everything stocked up. Well, you need security. What is to stop your security from saying, screw you and take over? If everything hit the fan and money is absolutely worthless, how would you keep those security guards there? If money meant absolutely nothing, why would your security guards for an hourly rate or for a salary of $300,000 a year, why would they stay there if money is totally useless at that point? And I thought that was one of the craziest questions because it's a good question. What would you do to keep them there? Do you have physical things? Well, why doesn't that security team up and just take your crap and kick you out? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you better hope that they're friends. But I just thought I thought of that guy when you said that, because it's like there's so many questions that I think that we won't see until we get there. But the whole mindset of prepping is that you try to prepare for as much as you can. Before we move on, make sure to drop an M in the chat for our mods. Our mods are really, really awesome people. I've known all of them for almost the entire time I've had this channel. Again, mods not just somebody I go, oh, hey, you can control chat. I actually know all of these people. I've talked to them hundreds of hours. Again, make sure to go over and check out all of the moderator team. Bones, Chance Paladin, CJ Blaze, Jammer One, and of course we have the great Lisa Hall. We have Rip Curl Readiness, RJL Harris, Ilea, Trinity Redder, Blue Pill, Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog here, and Wages World. So make sure to go check them out. All over there, you can just hit the red button and it will automatically bring you to subscribe to their channel. So make sure to go help them. They're all trying to create their own stuff and basically carve their own niche out. And then Dex, can you talk about the Belarus's second-rate dictator, Lukashenko? And I love how they put that straight in the headline.
Certainly. So this is a hit piece, so to speak, at least wanting to push a very cited narrative. But basically, they're saying that Lukashenko is, quote unquote, humiliating Putin by bragging about how he saved Moscow from the armed Wagner revolt. And to some extent, he does like to talk about this. He likes the limelight. He likes to be seen. He likes to look like he's important. And, there may be some truth to this, at least from the optics of his actions, not necessarily whether or not he's truly humiliating them. That may be the exaggeration, but that's kind of what they're saying. So I'm kind of curious, what do you think? It seems to me like they have been, Lukashenko and Putin himself have been, sort of locked in arms over as everything has progressed, and he's been probably the biggest supporter and obviously allowing nukes in his country and everything else. He's basically, for all practical purposes, his closest ally there in Europe at the moment. So I don't necessarily look at this as anything that he has done is going to really hurt that relationship or change anything with what's going on with Russia right now. But it's interesting to see the spin and the way they have positioned this. They've continued to try to make the event make Putin look weak, and that he's weak because he allowed this to happen. He's weak because somebody like Prigozhin could actually march up and pull, potentially pull this off. They're saying he's weak because of all those things. And he's weak because he didn't stop him and crush him and throw him in jail. He let him go. So that's the narrative they're trying to push. At least when I say they, I mean everybody but Russia, right? So it's just interesting. It's definitely got a whole lot of Ganda-ish spin to it. But there are some truths in the fact that the statements that Lukashenko has made, coming out were, very much like, yeah, I told him not to take him out. I told him, that, I'm the one that saved him. I'm the one that brokered the deal. Right. So anyway, he, it's an interesting position, but I don't take it at complete face value.
And here's the thing. It goes back to assuming that this Prigozhin was a real threat to Russia. Even if he had all 25,000, you're saying the entire right. The only way it was a threat, and this is when it was going on, when it was happening, the only way it could be a real threat is if the entire military was on his side. That all of the military, these guys who, and I would think that if you were Russian military, you would look at the Prigozhin guys and go, they get to drink and they're known, their reputation is that they go party every night. They do this. They have no rules. They have no nothing. Meanwhile, you're getting paid next to nothing in the Russian military, grinding, getting yelled at all day. You don't get to go out and have fun. Do you think that there's no kind of bad blood between these by the Russian military guys and the Prigozhin guys who are getting paid huge, exorbitant amount of money to do the same thing that they're doing? I don't know. They're just going to drop their weapons and go, yeah. You would think that there's something there, right? And that would also assume that they would do all that. They would say, hey, these guys at party all the time, we're on their side. It would be because they absolutely hate Putin and they think that Putin's a monster. But these narratives that we hear in the Western world, think about this. All of these Western narratives, none of them are played out in Russia. So even if they're propaganda telling them Putin's great and all of this, the sheer fact is even if you repeat a lie enough, people will start to believe it. Their media pushes out that they hate Western nations. So you could assume just as many people here are anti-Russia now, that they are anti-US, because that's all they're seeing. And Russia's even more savage than the US about how they contain their information. Heck, when this started going on, they blocked Google News. They blocked telecommunications company. They took a step before they even went into Ukraine to turn their internet into an intranet. And you're telling me that this isn't all a planned out thing? Come on. Prigozhin, even with 25,000 people, no jets, no nothing, none of that, is going to go in and take Moscow? Come on. People are stupid if they believe that. I'm sorry. There's no way that this could have worked. And if you even say something, if you say something that doesn't make Putin look bad, then you're carrying his water. I've seen a lot of folks, they actually do have a problem with another channel. I won't mention what they are because they say that they're too pro-Russia. I honestly think the same people they're talking about are just too pro-truth. And what's rough is that we have to balance out, like the whole proud survey they did earlier. Proud to be American, but not proud of the decisions they're making, and also know the line between, like, you want to know the truth. It's hard to put down your own country because if you question some of those things, it looks like you're putting down your country, but you're not. I think it should show that you care about your country, that you don't want your country doing horrible things, that you want your country, you want other countries to look at your country and be, to have that thing. We know that's changed. In other countries, if you were an American, you would travel to other countries. People would be envious of you. That's changing. I hope people realize that. Everyone I've talked to that has traveled a lot in the last 20 years, they said it has changed in different places. They would used to go somewhere and they'd go, "You're American?" Oh, and it would be a really big deal. Now it's like the tone has changed. "Oh, you're American." And I'm not talking about places like France where it's always been like, "Oh, you're American." No, like places where they literally said, "They're Americans." Even the opinion in Japan, Japan has Japanese people. It's always, "Oh, Americans." That's changing. So, and it's because we have such a messed up thing going on right now. Many places in the world look at what is happening here and they think we're a complete mess. And that's really sad. But understand that even if you said this is all propaganda and what they're doing, Russia people support Russia. They're patriots, but in their own way, they support their country. And I bet you if they did the same survey there, I bet most of them, I mean, it goes back in their culture to be proud of Mother Russia, right? I mean, same with the Chinese, same with any country. They're going to be proud of their country no matter what's going on there. So it's just to think that this whole rebellion thing would have ever worked. All this media is just filler. I think it's just fluff. It's all one big play. And sadly, I think we got to point this out at this point, because if you cover it, people, even if they get the other side of it, they're still going to believe it in some way. I don't know what's going on, and I can't tell you what exactly is happening, but I can tell you most of us with a gut instinct and have seen the patterns know that something is on the rise. Something is being manufactured right now, that there is something way bigger to come. Once you get it out of your head that the folks like myself, all of my peers that are saying the same thing, once you get it out of your head that there's some sort of motivation to say that for a reason, then you realize, why are they all saying it? Because we don't make more money if we say that. We make less. We piss off people on one side or another. So we make less. And as far as covering controversial topics, it's not like, even if you get 10,000 more clicks and there's no money in a click, then how are you going to be getting paid more if you do that? It doesn't make sense. So that's why I think people should look at these other channels that are saying it and go, okay, maybe they're right. And we need to start like really trying to stop being divided on all of these things and trying to talk to each other about it and talk and listen to both parties and say, maybe we're both wrong. Maybe we're both right in some ways, and come to the middle portion of this and try to figure out what's going on. That's just my opinion. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Edson, I think the coup that we paid for showed all of the Russian bad actors. Oh, and then I don't know if we have talked about that part. So is that the coup was faked. This is a theory that they were faking it. So then the people that were going to turn on Russia would come out of the woodworks and then they could take those guys out. I don't know if that's true either. That would also be assuming that this coup thing looked real and felt real there. They were walking through the street signing autographs. What kind of coup does that? I'm sorry, you would think you would be worried about snipers on a roof. Do you guys get what I mean? Prigozhin was rolling down his window doing signatures. Sorry, I would think that, hey, where are the snipers at? Where are the 50 cals set up that they showed, right? Doesn't make sense. And then here's how bad a nuclear war could actually be. This is a crazy one because this is not the Inquirer. This isn't the Sun. This is Time magazine. So we'll go to this in a second. Paul Wilson, it's nice to know that the people I follow the people I follow. I don't have time to follow the people you follow, but I do watch probably one a week of certain people, and then I watch more of certain ones, but again, we always push up all creators here. All of them. Doesn't matter who they are. Again, we appreciate them. Before we go talk about that, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Like Lego Dad asked earlier, go over and check it out. Again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. This is super easy to put in your car. Like I said, in the house one, it will protect everything that's plugged in. In the car version, though, doesn't matter if the power turns back on, multiple EMP strikes, or a CME, a coronal mass ejection from the sun. This will keep your car, truck, motorcycle, jet skis, boats, of course, yachts if you're a oligarch, whatever you have that runs or floats or goes, this can most likely protect it. That way, if an EMP or multiple EMPs or a CME happen, a solar flare from the sun, then your car will still go. Again, the red to the red part of your battery, black to the black part of your battery, green to ground. That's how easy this is. When we say under 10 minutes, we mean it. It's super, super easy to put in, and it will protect you against EMP and CME. It can also protect your vehicles, homes, whatever else you put this on, even energy solar generators, gas generators, RVs, against lightning strikes as well. So this is a really good thing to have in your toolkit. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You'll get $50 off per device. And again, this is something that you don't have. When this comes into play, I don't think I'll be here for you to thank me, but I think that this is a good thing for everybody to have if your car needs it. Because if you want to be able to bug out or if you want to be able to bug in, either way, you're going to have to get there. And this is a really good thing to have. All right. And then, so Dex, this is crazy. We'll go over that here in a second. Let's get our next caller on. Let's see here. Major Lee Stoned, China and GDP, calling from Seattle, Washington. Local. Major Lee, what's going on?
Hey, brother, how you doing? It's been a while.
Doing good. So, Major Lee, let's go into it.
Sure, absolutely. So, just digging around and kind of a while back, and I got curious on about China's GDP historically speaking, and kind of how it correlated with things like our GDP, maybe who was in office, certain policies that may have been passed. Just kind of see how, if I can figure out how all of that kind of played out. And I noticed some coincidences, I guess you might say. Now, China's GDP, I mean, it was solid until like the 1800s, and then through a series of like civil conflicts, I mean, the country just got wrecked, and their GDP was pretty much flatlined for better part of about 100 years into the 1900s. Now, in 1972, it was still flatlined, and I mean, no signs of life whatsoever. But in 1972, a pretty historic event took place. President Nixon went to the Forbidden City and he was the first president to ever be in the Forbidden City, and had dinner, I think, and met with the emperor at the time. Now, not many people know this, but the guy who set that up would have been our ambassador to China and our ambassador to the UN at the time. That was George H.W. Bush under Nixon. So, but
Wow.
the GDP of China was still flatlined at that point, right? So it was still flatlined at that point and didn't really start to show any signs of life until like the late 80s, which and early into the early 90s, really about the time that Bush Sr. Was coming into office, like mid 90s. You get like a little like blip, on the I can't remember what it's called, but the heart scan, where it's like you're flatline dead. It's just kind of like a little boop. Like, oh, there's a little signs of life there. And then when Bill Clinton took office is when it really started to take off, late 90s, mid to late 90s. And you can go and look at the policies and the specific policies of those two presidents specifically, H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, in regards to China, and see how they were very, very pro-China. As far as trade and jobs and opening up markets, things like that. Unfortunately, China did not open their markets up nearly as much as we did, and you can actually pull up too, if anybody gets a wild hair, our trade deficit and the amount of trade deficit that we were accumulating throughout this time, and who it was a deficit to was China throughout that entire period, and it just exploded. And then since like 2000, really, China's GDP has pretty much just gone straight up. So is our trade deficit, of course, and jobs have all gone over there and everything like that. I would have given you charts and some diagrams or something to send to Dex, but I just got off work, so wasn't really totally prepared for the call.
We have one, and I wanted to show this. Dex, did you get my message a second ago?
Yeah, it's in screener.
Okay, so check this out. And Major Lee, you have probably seen this if you've watched my show for a while. But for anybody new, and you guys know what I'm about to show you here, this is absolutely wild. So you can see how this ended up happening here. So this is let's go back. This is 1980, as Major Lee was just talking about, and we can see the world. The world is in blue. Okay, everyone in blue is doing greater trade with the U.S. This is 1980. Policies are changing. China just opened their doors to capitalism. They allowed their citizens to start businesses and start making money for it. But again, if you make so much money, essentially everything is tied back to the top, right? It's kind of a pyramid. They get a chunk of everything, and not just taxes. Like if you get really big, you do direct relations with the CCP. So check, and if you don't, you just don't make money. You turn that business over then. So check this out. Let's go through this. 1980, 81, 85, 90. See, the blue is disappearing. By 94, this is where in the Clinton era, still lots of blue. We are kicking butt, taking names. 2000. Hold up. There's a lot more red. 2006. This is now China trading more than the U.S. in all of these places. We keep going. 2008, 2012, 13, 14. And here's 2018. Do you see the difference here? Now, they have recently, since the end of this was in 2018. Since 2018, Canada has actually done a whole lot of partnerships with them. And some of at the very end of this, where there are still blue spots left, some of those have flopped, if you didn't know, because we've covered some of these. So and now they are doing loans with China as part of the Belt and Road. So this is eye-opening. If you're new here, or if you've just found us in the last month or two, then this is why many of us believe that China has a plan for world domination. It's and maybe this is being assisted. Maybe the U.S. is helping them with this, or certain people are. But if you don't know, in some of those blue areas, now some of those blue areas in 2018, since then, 2023 now, some of those have Belt and Road initiatives. So now they owe huge money to China. They are going to default on the loan, and they will most likely be under, they'll actually probably be under control of China in one way or another. It won't be public. Were you able to watch what I showed on the screen, Major Lee?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I pulled it up. I've seen you show it before. It's remarkable. If you simply Google China GDP, and just to look at the chart over the last 50 years or whatever, it's insane how fast they've grown, and I can't help but think that it's not natural growth by any means, not at all. It can't be.
Let's see.
So
1980. Let's see here. Wow, that's incredible. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's one. But hey, Major Lee, they're going broke. They're going broke. They're about to collapse because they're
That's what
broke.
I've heard.
Yeah, they're collapsing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Under their own policies. Kind of the way it goes.
Well, so whatever's going on here, and by the way, if folks are right and they're collapsing and they screwed up their own selves, they'll probably want to collect on debts on countries that owe them, or two, they have one of the most giant militaries in the world. They're probably going to use that to push themselves around. They're also probably going to I think they're using the Belt and Road initiatives to get in on some of these countries to actually build bases and basically take a placard from the U.S. But again, that's
yep, 100%.
It's pretty eye-opening to see that.
The fact that they're collapsing makes them, even more dangerous, I would say, because they're desperate. They're put in a desperate spot. So, yeah, exciting times we live in, no?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Major Lee, amazing call as always. Is there anything else you want to say before you go?
Nope, I think that's probably about it.
Well, thank you so much.
Love your show.
Major Lee,
keep it up, man. Keep doing what you do.
All right, well, thank you, Major Lee. Can't wait to hear from you again.
All right.
Have a good night. Let's see. We'll include that graph. Share it with your friends and family. What's also crazy is the stuff that's come out about Nixon in the last couple of years, about, even the Watergate stuff. There's all sorts of crazy things that have come out about that. What if everything we've been told was a lie? Oh, wait. It was. It was. All right. Let's see here. Here's how bad a nuclear war would be. Dex, so this is crazy because this is Time Magazine saying it. It's not somebody else. So you could either say that this is like the biggest propaganda ever because it's going through mainstream, or it could be that that they're kind of training our brains to get ready for some sort of nuclear event. I have said that I believe that maybe a tactical would go off. I don't think a full-on nuclear war is going to happen, but a tactical would be all that it needed for us to get into World War III. Heck, it would take less than that. But a tactical nuke going off could start off a whole chain reaction. But this paints a different picture. It paints kind of the worst picture out there.
It does, and there's actually a video that goes along with this, and you guys can go check it out on your own because we can't play it, but it's here in the article, and that's who they worked with. They worked with them to produce what they're calling the most scientifically realistic simulation of a nuclear war using only unclassified data, and they visualized it into a video. But basically, and this is, it's not news. Like a lot of us, to us in the community, we sort of understand. Like as soon as one person launches, the next person launches, and they basically go through that. They talk about like what would happen, if Russia started, then within 10 minutes, the U.S. submarines of Norway would start striking Russia from there. And then the Russians from the north of Canada would start hitting the U.S. a few minutes later. And then the very first strikes would actually be EMPs, as they say, and they would try to disable power grids and create electromagnetic pulses on both sides would be doing this to try to take that out, to make it easier for the rest of their missiles to come in and not have any defense. And then, of course, the land-based ICBMs can take up to a half an hour. So there's a little bit more of delay. And then they talk about which cities would be hit, why they would be hit, et cetera, et cetera. So the video is pretty fascinating. The article is also fascinating as well. But more importantly is who's putting this out and why are they putting it out now? Again, like to our audience, we know this stuff. We talk about this all the time. And maybe if you're new here, this may be a newer topic to you. You may not have seen this. You may have never played with the nuke map or anything like that, like we talk about all the time here. But for this to be going out, Time Magazine to the world, to more of a mainstream audience, if you want to call it that, that's kind of, puzzling or questioning. Like, why are they putting this out? It's not, if you could say it's for clicks, but we know that the big media does things because they're because there's agendas around it, and that's what I question. Like, what do they know, and why are they trying to warn people?
What's funny is I don't think people realize this. Do you realize that social media, they will lose money to further an agenda rather than get viewers, subscribers, followers? And now the difference, I think, between media 15, 20 years ago and now, the ratings actually mattered. They don't matter anymore. Do you realize that? They would rather push something that's going to lose people, that's going to not get clicks, that would further an agenda. I mean, it's really quite obvious. If you look at how they've done things, they don't care about clicks anymore. They don't care about views. They care about furthering an agenda. That's the crazy part. They accuse Independent of doing this, or anybody on YouTube, but they used to accuse the media like, oh, they would cover something because people are going to watch, right? Now they don't. They rotate every 20 seconds. They don't care. They want to put a new angle to a new story. They don't care about ratings anymore. Look at all of the mainstream news. Horrible ratings. And that's because they're pushing agendas and people see right through it. People know when they're being sold. I mean, it's just crazy. So again, crazy. Women who applied to Bill Gates' family office were reportedly grilled about their PORN habits if they had nudes on their phone and other sensitive info that could open them up to blackmail concerns. I'll leave that headline there. We're running out of time. But why? Apparently, that's a big hot topic. And then think it's hot now. This study says Texas could reach 125 to 130 degree temperatures within 30 years. You can read that over on our website. Again, I want to thank Paul Wilson, Edson H., Bible Talk 777, Blue Boy 1968, Carol, Ilea, Greg Heiss, I'm Batman, and Andrew Moon for tonight's support. It looks like tonight's top supporters are definitely Paul Wilson and Carol. So thank you. And then over on D Live, thank you, Poca Loco, Scooby Doo Do Right. Thank you, Chewy Weather, The End is Near, Kimbria, and Island by the Sea. Yobi and MC Dirty Work, thank you guys. Much appreciated. And thank you all of the new members tonight. Thank you. Appreciate all of you. Let's see here. Thank you, and thank you. Rosette Koss. Danielle Woodyard, Miss Lady Tiger, AK Forever in My Heart, one of my favorite screen names ever. Bork, the Denisovan, Stanton's Shenanigans, Mark Roberts, Tree Hugger, Dawn Z63, Tracy K, STR 2711, Ricky Lynn, Keish Lawn, BJM2, thank you Sheila Shoemaker, B-Roll Beast, Force User Patricia, and Emily Hillard over the last week. Thank you guys. And of course, I appreciate you. And all of the originals, OGs, which are actually, I think, about to hit the third badge. Thank you, Stanley Barrick, Craig Alicious, John Frederick, Dex J, Hijoles Frijoles, Ilea, You Are Soul, Mitchell Wintro, Jammer, K. Parker Fraser, Main Watcher, and Wages World. Which again, Wages World is an awesome channel. Go check out his channel. He does all the solar updates. He's closing in on 60,000 subscribers. So go give him some love over on marfooglenews.com/friends. And on top of friends, there's actually a whole lot of other news over on the Overflow, which Dex is going to hit right now.
That's right. So when you're on the website, marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, scroll down on this page, past everything we just covered, you get to the Overflow section. You can also get there by clicking the show notes link down below in the description. And below this Overflow section is where all the caller information is, like the book from Samson is the link down there in his poetry. Look, lots of other stuff going on. Some interesting things in the pharma world, specifically with some of the mental drugs being talked about and what kind of brain injuries and job loss and other bad things are happening from that. And also another interesting one of MDM, which is being used now in Australia. And if you don't know what that one is, it's the letter X and then follows by some other words like to see, and they use it in the clubs, right? But they're talking about using it for treatments now. That's happening. If I know we're all heartbroken over this, but apparently Tiffany's, excuse me, in Manhattan caught on fire after they just remodeled the whole place. So it was a big deal in the city of New York. But I'm sure we're all just heartbroken over not being able to go to New York and buy our Tiffany's jewelry, but that's happening. Richard Branson's now flying commercially into space. It's now open and it's no longer test flights. They're taking the paying customers, and that's moving forward. That's happening. Some interesting Supreme Court rulings, some stuff going on with the Chinese balloon. Yeah, it's back in the news. They're basically saying that American tech was on there, but we already knew that because we talked about that a lot. We talked about that a long time ago, but now they're talking about it again. A few little updates about what's happening with Russia and UKR. An update from Mulvaney. They are back in the news now. And then some hit pieces, if you want to say that, against Tucker, and then some other interesting things going on with Tucker about how he is trying to build his own media company now. So lots going on there. If you're looking for the rest of the story, go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description.
It's going to be an all-out war on Bud Light now, because if Dylan was saying that attacks Bud Light for not showing enough support, oh, Bud Light is screwed. Oh man, that's horrible. It's going to be. I don't think they're ever going to come back from that. They say, "Oh, it's on the end of it." It doesn't look like it. My friend that works a manager at Safeway basically said that so first of all, like a month ago, they were putting out. First of all, they said, "Don't send us any more Bud Light." They had pallets of it. And then what they did is after they finally ran out of their display, they weren't putting new ones out. They would only put out a couple cases at a time to make it look like, oh, well, this boycott's not working. And they did this as a personal choice, not something that Bud Light told them to do. They were just trying to sell what they had. They told them, hey, we don't want any more. So they put out 2 or 3 cases. And they would put it out. And once those 2 or 3 sold, they would put out a couple more. But one thing they said was they weren't paying attention really closely enough to it. So when it emptied, people would buy 2 or 3, and then there would be like 6-hour periods where there was just no Bud Light. So people couldn't buy it if they did want to buy it. But so they were doing that to make it look like, oh, it's busy. But in the back, there were pallets upon pallets. So they're not doing well. All right, you guys, it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Thank you, Dex. Love you. And we're going over to Jams, so we'll see you over there. We are probably already there, so thank you guys. Much love. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. 777 and a Huawei W. Everyone